What's going on, Soul Nation? Ginger Prime here, and today we're talking about how the Xbox Series X rewrites the rules for console design. And as we head towards 2020 and into the next generation of consoles with the PlayStation 5 and the Series X, I couldn't be more excited to be a gamer right now. Now we're going to dive into price. We're going to dive into a lot of these details. This comes from Richard Ledbetter over at Eurogamer. He puts together an incredible article that's based off of some information we got from GameSpot and also based off of Windows Insider, Windows Central. This has got a lot of information in it. We're going to go over it as well. But be sure to check out the link below so you can either read along or give them some love for putting this together, because the majority of this video is going to be based off of this information. And I'm going to give you my thoughts as well as speculation on pricing and more as we dive into it. But first, let's talk about the tech specs for the Series X, aka the refrigerator that we've seen already released and on display. So we've got a CPU of an AMD Radeon Zen 2 CPU. The GPU, AMD Navi-based GPU, which is they're estimating right now at 12 teraflops. This is going to be twice as powerful as the Xbox One X, but I think it's like, they say 8 times more powerful than the original Xbox One. It's just unheard of here. RAM is going to be GDDR6 SD RAM. They say storage is NVMe SSD, not confirmed on the capacity regarding the RAM and the storage. The max resolution output they're shooting for is 8K, and the refresh rate is 120 Hz. As a gamer myself, I do not care about resolution when it comes down to it. I want the refresh rate. I want those frame rates. And when you go and you play like Destiny 2 on console versus PC and Stadia, you're like, oh, it is night and day difference. See, the frame rate is really where everything's at. Now again, all of these links are going to be in the description below. But let's go ahead and dive in. The rules are changing and the nature of console design is radically evolving. The presumptions we have about the core design limitations in building a new games machine needs to be reevaluated. Microsoft has revealed the Series X and its monolithic casing, and it's almost twice the volume that of an Xbox One X. And what that means for performance is tantalizing. A full-on generational leap in power is indeed coming, but delivering that is certainly going to be required a profound reassessment of the core foundations of which the existing console designs are based. The games console has typically defined as a small living room friendly box that easily fits within the living room media cabinet. Dimensions have varied from generation to generation, but the fundamental nature of the form factor is not, until now. In putting together the Xbox Series X, the balance shifts. In its reveal coverage with GameSpot, Microsoft asked us to do the math. The Series X is over 8 times more powerful than the Xbox One, twice as powerful as the X, but the challenge in achieving that product that launches just 3 years later than the Scorpio project is not insignificant. Part of the problem is that the processor fabrication technology has not increased in step with Microsoft's ambitions. Assuming it, in an accurate image, is the 7nm chip that we saw back at E3. This is roughly the same physical size as the 16nm chip that we've seen in the X, likely a touch larger. Transistor density is unlikely to have doubled, meaning that the primary route forward for increased performance and its frequency, and lots of it. Increasing clock speeds means that performance and therefore more value from the silicon, but the harder you push, the more power you need. And the more power you need, the more heat you produce, necessitating innovation in terms of thermal dispensation. And it's almost certainly why Xbox Series X is so large. I'm not expecting a huge amount of difference in the size of the main board and the components attached to it when stacked up against the One X, but what I am expecting is a very significant increase in power consumption, plus a big upgrade in the cooling solution in order to manage some pretty challenging thermals, based on the new kind of power consumption seen on AMD's latest CPU GPUs, based on the same technologies. I would be surprised at all to see the Xbox Series X pulling up twice the power of this Xbox One X. All of this is in service to what Microsoft believes to be the most powerful console on the next generation era, previously known by its codename Anaconda under the Project Scarlet umbrella. The aim here has always been doubling the outgoing X's prowess, with 12 teraflops of compute performance as the initial target. Microsoft sees the performance leadership as crucial to important to the core gamer, with the Xbox One X and indeed the PS4 Pro as successful trials of establishing that committed gamers will pay more for a premium experience. There is another string that Microsoft's bow, the less capable 4 teraflop Scarlet console, also known as Lockhart, which the firm isn't talking about and hasn't been canceled to the current knowledge that we have. Lockhart looks weak on paper, but there are some inevitable limitations that come with that. But it was developed because power and performance at the highest level come with a certain price tag attached. necessitating a mainstream-friendly companion product. Series S, maybe? Anyone? Anyway, I suspect that whether it eventually comes to market boils down to the pricing and performance of the PlayStation 5. Even a stripped-back next-generation console will have a significant baseline cost. In the here and now, it's all about the Series X, where there's still some ambiguity about just how capable the system is. If we, quote-unquote, do the math, in raw teraflops alone, the new console is indeed a 12 teraflop machine based on Microsoft's stated comparisons with the Xbox One and the X. However, if we're dealing with performance for like-in-like workloads, the Navi's architecture improvements deliver more perf per your teraflop than prior GCN tech. And in our test, it suggests that a 9 to 10 teraflop Navi GPU can provide the requisite doubling performance up against the Xbox One X, even before the new architecture features come into play. Now, they asked Microsoft for a clarification on its current gen multiplier comparisons with the Series X, but the firm declined to commit and here and now of a precise figure. However, our information is that the GPU is indeed 12 teraflops, and there's most certainly a well-sourced leak from Windows Central that is backing this up. The implications are quite remarkable because based off the processor image released at E3 combined with the sheer size of the case, even at the highly clocked 2 GHz, we'd still require 48 compute units to get the job done. A 20% increase over the Radeon 5700 XT, today's most capable Navi GPU, and that 40 CU's allocation wouldn't include redundancy, where we'd expect a further 4 deactivated CUs to increase yield over production line. Microsoft surprised us before with how it delivered 6 teraflop GPU with the One X, and I am fascinated by the project of similar innovations for the Series X. I'm generally looking forward to seeing the final configuration Microsoft has settled upon here. 2 key aspects in the system setup are being pushed beyond what we currently know as reasonable limits for console design. 12 teraflops suggests a processor at the upper end of this kind of size that we've seen on the AMD-based console, possibly larger, and this would be a significant achievement from the new 7nm fabrication process. It would also suggest frequencies that are much higher than those seen on the AMD Navi-based GPUs, which reverses the situation with the current gen machines, which are typically underclocked compared to the equivalent PC parts. Increasing both area and frequency inevitably pushes the power consumption way beyond pushing anything we've seen in a home console. Our measurements for the first gen PlayStation 3 currently top the power consumption charts at 209 watts during gameplay. Based on what we know from the Navi GPUs from the existing seemingly less capable Radeon RX 5700 series, not to mention the size of the X series casing, I wouldn't be surprised to see the new console move beyond 300 watts. And with that in mind, assurances from Microsoft that the machine will have a similar acoustic profile to the Xbox One X is very, very welcoming, and I could not agree more with that. I love how quiet the One X runs, and it is just so good. And so ultimately, my concern was, is this going to be a vacuum cleaner in my house just to achieve these 12 teraflops? But they continue. There are further hints about the Series X performance and perhaps an attempt by Microsoft to demonstrate a point of differentiation between its hardware and upcoming rivals. The firm describes patented VRS technology, VRS meaning variable rate shading. The idea behind this technology is remarkably straightforward. Why should every area of the screen receive the same level of precision in its rendering when human perception itself is far from perfect? Areas of low contrast or scenes heavy with motion blur can be rendered less accurately, and you'd be hard-pressed to tell the difference. Now, VRS is already implemented at a hardware level with an NVIDIA tuning GPUs and supported in Wolfenstein's New Colossus and Wolfenstein's Young Blood, where depending on how you tune it, performance increases by around 10 to 15%. It's only one use case scenario, and obviously the effectiveness of the bump in frame rate adjusts dynamically according to the content. And with all that said, it's a good match for the direction of real-time rendering is moving in, where technology and art direction are moving towards a more filmatic look. A good match for VRS. So, again, the teraflop metric doesn't really tally with the real-life performances. We should have the boost delivered from superior architecture and any gains from VRS on top of that, with the console vendors having access to future AMD technologies. From the roadmap, this may well be the tip of the iceberg. Hardware accelerated ray tracing is confirmed, but there may also be further surprises yet. The extent at which VRS may be an advantage over PlayStation is also up in the air for now, despite Microsoft's claims of a patented technology. The Xbox rendition of VRS is highly likely to be based on the upcoming DX12 implementation designed for compatible hardware in this PC space. However, the extent of which any pen may lock out a console competitor is unknown. VRS is clearly not exclusive to Microsoft, as Nvidia has already supported the hardware that runs on its two shipped games using the Vulkan graphics API. In turn, this demonstrates that VRS is clearly not exclusive to the DX12 domain, but we'll have to wait and see more from Microsoft to see how this shakes out. And at the same time, as it goes for the technologies, the firm is talking about dynamic input latency, which was name dropped without little explanation beyond what the name suggests. The description sounds reminiscent of AMD's anti-lag, however. Further details there are also shared in the reveal, most of which we already know. The GDR6 memory is confirmed officially, but what essentially is an open secret is the E3 2019 Scarlet reveal. Trailer showed that the G6 models in place next to the main processor. The amount of memory wasn't confirmed in the latest reveal, although the E3 assets seem to be going out of its way to introduce ambiguity in this area. Now, Windows Central 16 gigabit figure is what its report seems likely, but the E3 video tossed in G6 models in different capacities to muddle the waters somewhat. A maximum of 8K resolution and an output of 120 frame limit are also reconfirmed that the latest reveal. It's likely that certain games will be targeting 120 frames for that Series X, bringing the console into the contending for high-end multiplayer gaming and making an acceptable choice for PC esports fans. There may be certain games aiming for native support for 8K displays, but expect to see developers choosing a range of resolutions or continuing to embrace dynamic resolution scaling technologies as they've stated before. Now, these technologies include temporal super sampling, which the concept of rendering at a native display resolutions is far less of a priority than it was in the current gen machines. Way back in 2013, we should also remember that the next generation of GPUs will deliver more horsepower for smart upscaling, producing even better results. Machine learning features may also play a crucial role too, and AI is going to really, I think, help generate and really define the next generation, not just in terms of what it is capable of visually, but how games respond to the player as well. So it's really going to be interesting. Where we see this kind of in Forza with with the Drivatars, we might be able to see more asynchronous multiplayer games in which that you and your friends get to participate even if they're not actively playing the game. It could be really cool. Interesting point. We'll have to wait and see. Now, the final spec Microsoft points confirmed is a crucial one. This is indeed new information. We knew that a solid-state storage technology would be in place for the new Xbox, but what we didn't know is that how it would be implemented. Would we be looking at a bespoke solution for ultimate performance? Would that simply SSD models be integrated directly into the main board? The reality is that NVMe standard used in PC nowadays gets the job done on Series X, with Phil Spencer citing a 40% improvement in I/O speed. This is really cool stuff here. Assuming the comparison point is available I/O bandwidth from Xbox One hard drive, we're looking at a 40 megabits for bandwidth increase to circa 1.6 gigabytes. Now on the Series X, the figure rises to 2.4 gigabytes a second if the Xbox One X I/O bandwidth of 60 megabits is the base number. Combine that with the total removal of seek time, so there's no physical head moving around the hard drive anymore, and we should see it indeed be close to the elimination of load times. In this respect, at least, the console will be returning into something closer to its original roots. Our hope is that something closer to the original concept of the plug-and-play console is coming back. Confirming to NVMe has secondary benefits too, is that the route is open to user upgradable storage and that actually won't compromise the performance. While SSDs are still expensive, costs are starting to drop dramatically, and that certainly the space is available for the Series X adding the NVMe drives. The question is whether it will be seeing an official drive upgrade, cartridges from Microsoft with certified SSDs within, or whether the NVMe drives will work. The later approach still offers flexibility and the potential to lower costs to the user. But the introduction here possibly is that substandard drives may not match the stock SSD spec, which can cause issues. Regardless, the new look looks good, and the Series X drive should have superior performance, and a door to expandable storage is open one way or the other. So we're still almost a year away from launch, and there's still many questions to answer. Pricing is one of them. The size of the Series X processor represents a significant cost just in its own, and before we factor in the other pricey parts such as the solid-state storage, the GDR6 memory, and its more likely to be innovative, likely costly, cooling solution. In fact, simply increasing the size of the box alone increases the manufacturing and worldwide shipping costs. The conventional wisdom is that the console balances price against performance with inevitable compromises, but there's strong evidence here that the Series X subverts this with more of a push towards getting a much state-of-the-art tech into the console as possible. Phil Spencer is on record with Eurogamer, and he's saying that he is not going to sacrifice performance for the sake of price. Certainly the Series X in particular, this will be true. While it's not likely didn't translate into a game-changing shift in the volume sales, the firm has benefited immeasurably from the specs leadership of and via the Xbox One X. And the fact that these key titles like Red Dead Redemption 2 offer the best experience on Microsoft's hardware is a huge value. It's almost contentious source and great PR, but once again the specs leadership comes at a cost. The X was $100 more than the PlayStation 4 Pro at launch. Spencer has ruled out that the Xbox One situation charging more for a competing for less capable machine, but I'd find it difficult to believe that the Series X will cost less than $499, bearing in mind its build cost. And equally, I can't see them obviously contending more than the PlayStation 3's launch at a disastrous $600. And this is where it's going to get interesting, everybody. I don't know. Like, is Microsoft willing to come in at the $500 price point for this machine? You know, are gamers willing to go for $600? It really is going to also depend on how the PlayStation 5 fares in terms of the technology. Even if it's less powerful from a design spec, developers are going to program for the lowest common denominator. We saw this with the PS3 and the Xbox 360, where even though the PS3 was far more powerful, people kind of designed for the 360. So if there is a market saturation that needs to happen, but we'll have to wait and see. The reality is that we have at least 2 generation consoles arriving in holiday 2020, and these prices and bundles and all these things will be pitched and values be tweaked. Both platform holders are going into the battle knowing that $400 is the sweet spot for users, but having made that decision, a true generational leap in console performance is going to be difficult to achieve without charging more. And the question is, who's going to pay for it? Is the users or the platform holders via per unit subsidies, maybe? In the meantime, it is clear that the key message that I think that is crucial and importance should be music to the ears of the Digital Foundry audience. PS4 and Xbox One launched in an era where the future of the console itself was in doubt, and the vast improvements from the platform holders seen in the PS360 generations could not be repeated. After the pushing prolonged generations, both console vendors delivered relatively conservative designs with clear and obvious compromises in place. But this is a sign for, as far as the Series X, to point to a new kind of swagger. We saw this with the reveals of the PS3 and the 360 as a genuine desire to push the state of the art. With all that in mind, Series X and most certainly PS5 are built on a foundation of optimism and a confidence this time around. There are no compromises in the CPU performance in the next generation design. We're getting accustomed to rendition of a high-spec PC part. Meanwhile, the PS5's GPU may be shrouded in mystery, and the indications are true that the Series X Microsoft has developed a console GPU that is more performant and more feature-rich than any Navi part AMD has shipped in 2019. Your next console will be a lot bigger, and with the current one, there may be more than you expect, putting this level of power in the mainstream piece of gaming. Hardware is huge, exciting, and technology miracles that we've achieved from current gen despite their limitations, and it's possible represented their successors is very mouthwatering. Guys, this has been an epic article. Again, go check out the Eurogamer article here if you want to give them, and please give them some love. Obviously, this is a great source of information. I really enjoyed being able to share this information with you. I am very excited about next generation. Like I've said, at the end of the day, it's all going to come down to the games that they offer. Games are going to be the key, are always the key differentiator. It doesn't matter how you have no games, and there you go. But one of the things that it's going to be interesting to see with the Xbox One X, and something I don't recommend, is they have the kind of their all access where you get Game Pass, you get all of that, and then you kind of pay a monthly fee. We'll probably hear about upgrades from X's to Series X's, and the naming in itself can be we'll see if it ends up confusing anybody this holiday season. The look alone won't, and it could be like give me the refrigerator Xbox or whatever we're gonna call it. But regardless, thank you guys so much for watching this video for Ginger Prime. My name is Brian. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what you're thinking in the comments below. I look forward to hearing from you when it comes to everything next generation. We'll hopefully be covering it here in more detail as well. So thank you again. Hope you have a fantastic day. I'll see you next time. Take care.